it's me, Dr. Ev, and I'm back with another video. If you are interested in seeing how I got this look and you would like to hear me answer some questions about becoming a child psychiatrist, I would like you to keep on watching. What is good, y'all? It's me, Dr. Ev. I'm back with a video. I am so sorry, y'all. I know it's been a while since we've done a sit down video. It's even been a while since I vlogged. I don't know, the end of 2024 was a whirlwind. Fun, lots of fun. Don't get me wrong, it was fun, but it was definitely a whirlwind. So we are in 2025. Happy New Year. If you are new to my channel, hello, I am Dr. Ev. I am a board certified child and adult psychiatrist, expertise in women's reproductive health. This channel is all about mental health, my journey to becoming a physician. So all my tips, tricks, guidance, advice about becoming a doctor, and then also just my life and having fun. And I like to travel and I like to shop and I love makeup and I love skincare and I love fragrances and I love fashion. Whew. That was a lot. But if any of that interests you, please make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can stay in the know of all of my videos. And I promise in 2025, I am going to do better, okay? So today we're just doing kind of like a Q&A. I've been getting a lot of questions on my other platforms about becoming a psychiatrist, the journey to becoming a doctor, just questions like that. And I thought it'd be good to just do a nice sit down, get ready with me while I answer these questions. Of course, we're going to be doing our makeup. So I think most of the questions I'm going to answer are going to be geared towards pre-meds. I'm also going to do a video geared towards high school students, residents, and fellows. So don't worry. A lot of videos are going to be coming. And as always, if y'all have questions that maybe I don't touch on, feel free to ask me, leave them in the comments, follow me on my other social media sites so that we can stay in the know. And yeah, let's get started. Actually, I am, if you know, you know, I'm actually gonna do my brows and lashes off camera. So I'll be back. Okay, y'all, I'm back. You will not understand how much I just fought for my life to put on these lashes. Like, I cannot take that long of a break from doing makeup because it literally feels like I'm a child trying to learn how to put on lashes every single time. Like, oh my gosh. It took so long and I still can't say that I put it on well or correctly. Okay, let's get started. So I'm gonna go in with the Danessa Myrick's Yummy Skin Glow first. And if I'm looking down or looking to the side, I'm looking to the side because I'm reading my questions, and I'm looking down because I have another mirror, which, by the way, y'all, having this little portable mirror has been a game changer. I suggest, if you're someone who travels a lot, I suggest getting a portable mirror like this and then also a portable light. It literally has changed the game for me when it comes to doing my makeup when I travel, because you can't always depend on a place having good lighting, and believe it or not, you cannot always depend on a place having a good mirror, or a mirror for that matter. So highly suggest. Okay, so let's start. When did you first realize you wanted to be a doctor? So I knew I was gonna be a doctor pretty early on in life. I am Nigerian, and so if you know anything about Nigerians, you don't really have much in the way of options of career in their eyes. You can either be a doctor or a lawyer. My parents weren't fond of law either, to be honest, so I can't even say that, but I know for a lot of other Nigerian families, law is acceptable, engineer, nursing, so yeah, so there's that. But so I was the oldest, I'm the oldest, and so it was pushed to me pretty early on that I was going to be a doctor. And so, to be honest, that's when I knew. But I never really knew when I decided that I was in fact gonna go the route of being a doctor, I thought I was gonna be a pediatrician. And so becoming a child psychiatrist specifically really threw me for a loop. That didn't happen till way later when I was in med school, to be honest. So yeah, when did I know I was gonna be a doctor? As soon as my parents could tell me that that's what I was gonna be, and I could understand that. Next, we're gonna go in with the Milk Hydrogrip Primer. Tried and true staple in my makeup routine. I love it. What was the hardest part of your journey to medical school? Ooh, this is a good question. I would say the hardest part of my journey was not really having much in the way of guidance or mentorship on the journey. So I knew people, I definitely knew people that were also interested in going to med school and were like a year ahead of me or maybe 2 years ahead of me. So not to say that I didn't know anybody, but you would be surprised. So like all of the little details regarding getting into med school that people assume you know, or you're just supposed to know, or it's just like slips through the cracks. Like there was a lot of things that I didn't know, even to the point of my plan was always to go to medical school straight from college. I didn't have a plan to take a gap year or anything. And I didn't even know that you had to take the MCAT like the fall, your senior year, or like early on in your senior year, like preferably your junior year, if you know you want to matriculate into med school following graduation. I didn't know that you had to take your MCAT early during junior year if you know you want to matriculate following senior year of college. I did not know that. So because of that, I had to give up my Christmas break quickly and sign up for an MCAT prep course because I had not been studying, because I didn't know that I needed to be studying. And so I did like a Princeton review MCAT prep course, crash course. You give up your winter break, so it's 2 weeks of like 12-hour days, classes. Like I stayed in Austin. I didn't go home for the holidays. Like intense. And all of that would have been avoided if I would have known, or somebody would have told me like, hey, you should be studying for your MCAT and you should be getting ready to take it in the fall or spring if you know you want to matriculate into med school. So I think that sort of stuff was hard. I didn't know a lot of things, and I went to a really big college who, like, it felt like 99% of people were pre-med, so you weren't getting that individual attention. There wasn't like someone who was there that's really like paying attention to you and making sure that you're hitting all the steps and doing everything you need to do. It's too many people for that. And so the onus really is on you. And if you don't know what you don't know, right? And so that's probably what I think was the hardest thing. I wish I would have had more guidance. It all worked out okay, but it definitely was a very stressful time for me because I just didn't know. And I had a very close friend that we were both interested in med school, and we were kind of stumbling through it together, and trying our best to do what we could do. So yeah, or I'm gonna use it. It is the Lancome foundation, the Teint Idole Ultra Wear in the shade 540 Sway W. This is their old, I don't know if it's their old formulation, but it's their old way of naming. And so this color doesn't exist, or this name doesn't exist anymore. And that's why I don't want to use it, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to finish it because I don't know if I can trust that whatever they have now is gonna be as good as this one is. I really, really like this. See? Very nice. Very, very nice. And I'm using this Real Techniques brush in 260 to really buff and blend out the foundation. Okay. Ooh, this is interesting. What would you tell your pre-med self now that you're a psychiatrist? I would tell my pre-med self to be more open. Like I said, I really knew or thought, that I was gonna do psychiatry. And so, I really thought that I was gonna do pediatrics, and I kind of geared myself up for that to go straight into peds. And I think it's definitely fine if you have, you have an idea of what you want to do, for sure. And if you got a lot of experience shadowing or volunteering in that specialty, so you already kind of know what to expect. I did some shadowing in pediatrics, but definitely not enough to where I should have been so definite about my decision to want to be a pediatrician, you know? And so it didn't really change much, but I do wonder what things would have been like if I was more open to the other rotations I was rotating through during medical school, if it would have changed my perception of those rotations, because I feel like I was like, nope, wrong. And psychiatry, I think, was just so good and just so different. It stood out so much that I couldn't like swipe it away like I did the rest of the rotations, because I knew that I wanted to be a pediatrician. Like, I know I was only interested in pediatrics. Psychiatry just ended up standing out a lot. But I just, I do wonder what would have happened if I would have been more open to the other specialties. So that's probably what I would tell my pre-med self. Like, keep yourself open, learn, really like embrace the opportunities to rotate through different specialties and get to learn, like I did learn a lot. Don't get me wrong. I learned a lot in all of those specialties, but I kind of like had my eye on the prize, like I set up everything for peds. So yeah, I think that's what I would tell my pre-med self. And that everything's gonna work out. I think trying to get into med school is such a stressful process. People who either like didn't get in or had to like take the MCAT a lot, and so it's a stressful time. And I would tell my pre-med self, like, it's gonna work out, everything's gonna be fine. Do not over stress yourself. But yeah, did y'all see how well that blended? That's why I love this foundation. It's so good. I have this little baby Nars concealer in the shade Hazelnut. So we're gonna use this to conceal. I feel like I'm still working on trying to find like the best concealer for me. Like, I like this one, don't get me wrong. But I'm like, is there a better one I can be using? I don't know. Alright. And just as a little of a brightening concealer, I'm gonna go in with the Huda Beauty concealer in the shade Crumble. And I'm just putting it kind of like right in the middle. And I'm gonna kind of let that cook for a little bit before blending it out. Okay, let's see. Ooh, this is a good question. Did you take a gap year before medical school? Would you recommend it? So, like I just said, I did not end up taking a gap year. It seemed like I was about to, because I didn't know what I was doing, but I ended up getting it together and was able to go straight to med school. Y'all, I'm gonna try this Fenty Beauty cream bronzer in the shade Toffee Tease. It's my first time, as you can see. It's a little done because of my nail, but I haven't used it. I am interested to see. But okay, so did I take a gap year? No, I did not take a gap year. Would I recommend it? I don't think it's a bad idea, if I'm being honest. Med school is such a long journey. It's a very long journey, or medicine in general. And you have, all your life to complete it. And if there's some experience that you want to do before you start, because it's kind of like once you start your medicine journey, you kind of want to keep going like that. I wouldn't recommend pausing unless you're pausing for like, you're getting another degree, like an MBA or something, or an MPH, so then, or PhD or something, then yeah, maybe you can pause. But otherwise, I would recommend once you start to continue on. And so you want to make sure that you get every experience that you want out of life before you dedicate for minimum 7 years of med school and residency. So if there's something that you want to do before you start med school, I say go for it. I'm definitely, when I was in med school, there were a lot of people who did take gap years and did some really, really cool stuff in between. Like even my roommate, who's now one of my closest friends, she did Teach for America when she graduated from college. So she did 2 years Teach for America and then came and did med school, So I think it's cool, especially if there's things you want to do, that you want to try, that you want to experience. I think it's such a cool idea to do it. The only thing I would caution is, and I don't know from experience because like I said, I went straight, but I know people, like you may lose the motivation to go to med school when you take a break and you see yourself making money, because medicine is such a delayed gratification. Like it is the ultimate practice in delayed gratification. And so it's going to be hard to go from doing, you graduate, you start working, you start making money. It's going to be hard to go from that and transition to like being on student loans and being a student and all of that. Like, so that's the only thing I'm like, you just got to make sure that, ultimately, that you want to be a physician. That is your ultimate goal. So that even if you veer off, do something else, that you're going to be motivated and committed to coming back to medicine. So that's the only thing I would say. And again, like I don't know this from personal experience, but I could imagine, and I know there's people who, they lost motivation to go back to medicine after they saw that they were making money. So that's what I would say. So I am going to use a mixture of this Sephora brush and then this Real Tech in 71 and then this Real Technique brush 200 to blend out the concealer. Okay. What advice do you have for building a strong medical school application? Good question. Now I am speaking as someone who actually, like in my med school, I was on the committee, like as a student reviewer. I did interviews and all of that. People just want to know that you're dedicated to being a doctor. And it's like, what are the ways that you can show that you are dedicated to this journey? Like, that means that you've shown that via shadowing, via volunteering, via extracurricular activities. You know what I'm saying? Like they want to know like, oh, this person is committed in her pursuits of becoming a physician. And so that is how you make your application stand out. Make sure you have those necessities. Make sure you've shadowed, make sure you've volunteered. Like there's not gonna really be a way around having that, those experiences if you want your application to be strong, so make sure that that is a thing. Obviously grades are important. They're not everything. I'm not saying that they're everything, but they're important. And so as much as you can, especially in your pre-med classes, try your best to do as well as you can in those classes. They're going to be important, Same thing with the MCAT. Again, it's not everything, but it is important. And especially with some programs, like if you are someone who's interested in going to a specific school, that's going to carry more weight than other schools. You know what I'm saying? So you don't want to weed yourself out. So take that exam as serious as you can. But ultimately, I think people want people who are dedicated to the pursuit and also are just like human people. Like as much as your personality can shine through, let it shine through. And I think that's where the personal statement comes into play. Know that you don't have to give this really like crazy sad story and that's why you want to be a doctor. Make it your own. Like make sure your personality is shining through during that personal statement. Like honestly, like me personally, that was my favorite part of my medical school application, was my personal statement. It really was. I took my time with it. I had people who I trust review it and let me know what they thought about it. I really tried to make it personable, and it was something that like across the board in all of my med school interviews that people asked me about my personal statement. So yeah, I would say make sure that you have that. I think you can never go wrong with having leadership experience on your application. So if you were an officer of anything, make sure you include that. Like doctors, physicians are leaders in the community, and so they like to see that you're able to take initiative, that you're able to be a leader. But yeah, that's what I would say would make a strong application. Just as much as you can, show that dedication and really have your personality shine through. And then I'm gonna use a beauty blender. I'm gonna wet it with a little bit of the setting spray. this is kind of to melt everything together. So just have it kind of melt in the face, no harshness. I probably am gonna go back in with the bronzer, which I like. I like the Fenty Beauty cream bronzer. I like the way that came out. Now it's time for powder. I am gonna go in with my tried and true Laura Mercier translucent powder in medium deep. Another question. How did you prepare for the MCAT and what study strategies worked best? So as I mentioned earlier, I ended up taking a Princeton Review MCAT prep course. Luckily, one of the organizations on campus actually had like scholarships to take the class, because there was no way I would have been able to afford that class on my own. It's so expensive. But there were like scholarships, and I had gotten the scholarship to take the course. So I took a prep course during winter break between my fall and spring semester of junior year. And I did that. It was pretty intense. It was like 12-hour days of straight up class instruction, but everything was guided. So like I didn't really think about what I needed to study. Like they would tell you what you're gonna study. They would kind of set up the practice exams for us. Like we would be taking the practice exams in the classroom. So it was very much so guided. And I like that because I didn't really have to think too much about what I was doing. Honestly, like everything was just done for us, and I appreciated that. I took the MCAT twice. And so the second time I took it prior to taking it the way that I studied was I basically used those Princeton Review courses and practice exams. And the study strategy, and it's like, pretend I'm yelling this at you, because this is the study strategy that if you are planning on being a physician, is going to be the study strategy that you will utilize for the rest of your life, honestly. And that is practice questions. That should be your best friend. So practice exams, practice questions, blah, 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 whatever you want to call it. Practice questions. That is going to be your best friend. And that is a study strategy I would say for the MCAT as well. You need to learn how to take the test, because sometimes it's not, I might even say sometimes, a lot of times it's not as simple as just knowing the content. If you're not used to taking these standardized exams, which I was not, like I took my SATs, I took it once, and I was top 10%, so I knew I was gonna get in, and I did decent enough on the SATs that I knew I was gonna get into my first choice of college. So, and that was like the last time I took a standardized exam. You know what I'm saying? So if you're not used to taking standardized tests, sometimes it really doesn't matter how much you know the content. The questions will trip you up because they ask the questions in a way where it's like you have to know more than just the content. They're gonna ask it in a way that knowing the content it's not enough. So you have to learn. It's like you have to study the content, and then you have to study the structure of the test. And that is the biggest study strategy, I would say. It's like you need to be doing so many questions. Once you feel like you have a concept down, immediately, do a practice exam, do some practice questions immediately, and make sure that you have the content down in a way that you can answer the questions that they're gonna ask you. And that's something that I definitely didn't learn into further in my medicine journey. Like I didn't really get that piece until medical school. So if I could go back, that is something that I would have prioritized. Like I was prioritizing like traditionally what you would prioritize, which is content. Like I need to learn it. I need to know the concepts. And yes, absolutely, you need to know the concepts, but you need to know how to take that exam, because they're gonna trick you up even though you mastered something. It's just the way they do it. It's to weed out people, it's not necessarily who's smarter and who's not. It's just trying to weed people out. So please, 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 if you don't take anything away from what I'm saying, practice tests, practice questions as much as possible, and do that. Like I said, that is going to be what you are going to do for the rest of your career. because if you are interested in medicine, you will be taking exams for the rest of your career. So it's good to learn that habit now. So I just went in, oh, I don't think I told y'all. My bronzer, my like powder bronzer I went in is Nars, very beautiful, in the shade Laguna 8. We are gonna go in to do our bottom lashes. I'm gonna, before I do that, I do want to kind of pat my face dry like it's melted. I'm just gonna use this one size, powder puff, and just kind of, you know, help it all melt together. Now I'm gonna go in with the Fenty Beauty mascara. Can y'all see the difference? Oh yeah, you definitely can. This one is done, this one's not. Really good mascara, I recommend. Okay, and then our next question is, what extracurricular activities helped you the most during your pre-med years? I would say definitely joining a pre-med organization was really helpful for me. So I was part of the Black Health Professionals Organization on campus, or BHPO is another name for it. I also was part of Women in Medicine organization on campus. And so those are good, just to kind of help facilitate getting you connections and exposure to certain things, maybe opportunities, and more than anything, just being around like-minded people who are also on the grind of trying to get into some sort of health. Well, BHPO was all health professions, so it wasn't limited to just medicine. But, you know, Women in Medicine is for women who are interested in medicine. So just being around like-minded people, I think, was really helpful and beneficial for me. Also, just doing something that is not necessarily medicine related can also be really beneficial. So I played volleyball throughout my 4 years in college. I was on the club team, and our club team was really good. Like, we were a traveling team. We traveled, we did tournaments, and, you know, we won championships. But I think that's something that really helped me stand out, honestly, on my applications, because I was able to speak to it. It was something different, not everybody was doing. And I think that people really, my interviewers really appreciated that aspect. So, you know, obviously the pre-med orgs, they're always going to be helpful. It's always good to have that because of the connections and the things that they can help facilitate. But I would also argue, like, doing something that you like, whether it's like music or arts or acting or dancing or whatever, you know, like sports, like me, doing something outside of medicine, I think is also very beneficial, and it gives you an edge. It gives you something different to talk about than what everybody else is talking about, if that makes sense. And then I am gonna go in with the tried and true, everybody knows, One Size Until Dawn mattifying setting spray. I think we have time for one more question. What was the hardest part of medical school and how did you get through it? Good question. So for me, the hardest thing about med school was just the amount of work. Med school, I think this metaphor has probably been used, but med school truly is like drinking water from a fire hydrant or a fire hose. So much information, so much is coming at you fast. And I'm somebody who, my transition from high school to college was really rough because I went from like not really having to study that much. Like, you know, if once I got it and I was good and I would ace my exams. I put in effort, but I didn't have to put in that much effort. And I thought that I could go to college and, you know, carry those same habits. And I very quickly realized that I could not. That was not gonna work. And I had to adjust. And so I think for me, it was a similar situation in that the habits that I had used to do well in college it wasn't translating as much, especially at the beginning when I started med school, and I needed to adjust. But you don't, things are moving so fast. It's like, girl, you better adjust quick. Like, you don't have time to, to wait it out and see if you can try to make your methods work. You have to adjust pretty quickly. And so that part was hard for me. Yeah, so just figuring out my study style, how I was going to be successful in med school, that was a big challenge for me. And how I overcame it, and I will say this till the cows come home, having a community, some people that you can study with, people that you can depend on, is so important, because I felt like that is what helped me get better. Is I had a group of girls that I became very, very close to, and we essentially became study buddies. And so the way I was able to kind of change up my study style was by seeing how other people studied, because I never really had to do that. I was so used to being in my own way and doing things my own way, that when I had this study group and was seeing how other people study, and that was the other thing too, in college, I had the one girl I was close to, who we were both trying to get into med school, but we didn't really study together. We would study near each other, but we weren't studying together. We weren't interacting. We'd just be in the same place. So my whole life, I had never truly studied with people, learned from people, until I got to med school and I got to see how, the other girls were studying. I was like, oh, that just makes so much more sense than the way I'm doing it. I'm causing myself twice the headache doing it my way. It's why didn't I, think of that? So I think one of the biggest cheat codes you can have, that's gonna translate not just in med school, but for the rest of your career, is having a community that is gonna be vital. I'm so grateful for the girls that I met in med school, quite literally, and not just for academic reasons, just having people who you're going through the process with, who know exactly what you're going through and you can lean on, is unmatched. It's such a great feeling. And so I'm so thankful for them. So thankful for them. All right, everyone, so this is the final look. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below. And that is it for this video. I hope those answers to the questions were helpful. Those were some really good questions. I actually still have a whole bunch that I didn't get to, so I'll definitely make this a little series, and we'll do our makeup and we'll answer more questions. But if you have questions that you want answered, please make sure to leave a comment down below and I will get to them. And also, please be sure to follow me on my other social media channels. I am on everything. I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok, I'm on Threads, I'm on Lemonade. You will find me. So please make sure you follow me on those platforms. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye.